The massive ship fell from the sky like a dying star. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from her research tent in the Sahara Desert as the alien vessel crashed into the sand dunes 20 miles away. The ground shook so hard that her coffee cup fell and broke on the floor. Sarah was not supposed to be in the desert that night. She was supposed to be back at Cairo University, teaching her students about ancient Egyptian tools. But something had called her to this empty place. Maybe it was the strange readings on her equipment. Maybe it was just luck. Either way, she became the first human to see the ship fall. The vessel was huge. It stretched for almost 2 miles across the desert sand. Its metal hull was black and smooth, covered in strange marks that looked like writing. But the ship was clearly broken. Holes were burned through its sides. Green liquid leaked from cracks in the metal. Smoke rose from what looked like engine parts scattered across the sand. Sarah grabbed her radio and called for help. Within hours, military trucks and helicopters filled the sky. Scientists came from every country on Earth. The media tried to get close, but soldiers kept them away. This was too important for news cameras. The first team to enter the ship found the aliens inside. They called themselves the Vexhai, though it took 3 days to figure out their language enough to understand even that much. The aliens were tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were large and black like pools of oil. But they were dying. Dr. Chen was part of the language team that tried to talk to them. The ship's computer helped translate, though it was damaged and often got words wrong. The Vexhai leader lay on what looked like a medical bed. Tubes and wires connected to his body. His breathing was slow and painful. "We failed," the alien leader said through the broken translator. His voice sounded like wind through broken glass. "The Devourers come." "We could not stop them. What are Devourers?" Sarah asked, speaking slowly into the translation device. The alien's 4 hands shook as he tried to sit up. "Death, hunger, they eat. They consume all thinking life. Worlds, species, knowledge. Everything becomes part of them." Other aliens lay around the ship in similar condition. Some were clearly dead. Others were barely breathing. The ship's medical systems were trying to help them, but whatever was killing them was stronger than their technology. Sarah spent days with the dying aliens, learning their language and trying to understand what had happened. The story came out in pieces, like putting together a broken puzzle. The Vexhai had been part of something called the Galactic Alliance. Hundreds of different alien species worked together to explore space and share knowledge. But then the Devourers came. "They appeared at the edge of our galaxy," the leader explained. His name was something like Veltar, though human voices could not say it correctly. "Ships like living things. They attacked our worlds one by one. Each world they consumed made them stronger. The Devourers did not just destroy planets. They absorbed them. Every person, every animal, every plant became part of their growing mind. The knowledge of entire civilizations was added to their collection. They became smarter and more dangerous with each victory. We tried to fight," Veltar continued. "The Alliance sent fleets, our best warriors, our strongest weapons. Nothing worked. The Devourers learned from every battle. They adapted. They grew. The Vexhai ship had been part of the last Alliance fleet. They had tried to make a final stand at a place called the Nexus Point, a key location that controlled travel between different parts of the galaxy. The battle had been a disaster. Most of the Alliance ships were destroyed or captured. The few survivors scattered in different directions. "We came here because this world is next," Veltar said. His breathing was getting worse. "Your star system is on their path. They will come here to consume humanity." Sarah felt cold despite the desert heat. "When? Soon, maybe 10 of your years. Maybe less." The alien looked at her with those oil-black eyes. "We hoped we could warn you, help you prepare, but we are dying." The thing killing the Vexhai was not a disease in any normal sense. It was something that attacked their minds directly. Their thoughts became confused and scattered. Their memories mixed together until they could not tell past from present. The ship's computer called it neural cascade failure, but that was just a fancy name for dying from the inside out. Dr. Chen and her team worked desperately to save them. Human doctors tried to help, but alien biology was too different. The Vexhai medical systems were more advanced than anything on Earth, but they were designed for Vexhai bodies. They could not fix whatever was breaking down in the aliens' minds. One by one, the Vexhai died. Veltar lasted the longest, but even he finally succumbed after 2 weeks. Before he died, he gave Sarah a small device that looked like a crystal cube. "This contains our records," he whispered. "Star maps, history, technology, everything we learned about the Devourers. Maybe humans can use it better than we did." "Why?" Sarah asked. "What makes you think we can succeed where you failed?" Veltar's 4 hands gripped her arm weakly. "Because you are different. Your minds work in ways we do not understand. Chaotic, random, illogical." He paused, struggling for breath. "The Devourers expect logic. They prepare for reasonable responses. But humans do impossible things." After Veltar died, Sarah stood alone in the alien ship. The other scientists were busy cataloging technology and taking measurements. Military officers argued about what to do with the vessel. Politicians worried about how to explain everything to the public. But Sarah held the crystal cube and thought about impossible things. The ship's main computer was still partly working. It had absorbed some human languages from radio and television signals, so it could communicate better than the broken translator. Sarah spent hours talking with it, learning about the galaxy beyond Earth. "The Devourers have consumed 17 different species," the computer explained. "Each time they follow the same pattern. First, they send scouts to study the target world. Then they arrive with overwhelming force. Resistance is usually over within days. But you think humans might be different?" Veltar believes so. Human thought patterns are unusual. Where other species see problems, humans see puzzles. Where others see defeat, humans see challenges. This unpredictability might be useful against an enemy that expects logical responses. Sarah looked around the massive ship. Even damaged, it was clearly more advanced than anything humans had ever built. The technology was beyond Earth's current understanding. But maybe that was not the point. "Could this ship be repaired?" she asked. "With sufficient knowledge and resources, yes, but it would require understanding systems far beyond human science." Sarah smiled for the first time since the ship crashed. "You know what, computer? I think you're underestimating us." The crystal cube felt warm in her hand. Inside it was the collected knowledge of an entire galactic civilization. Star charts showing the location of hundreds of worlds, technical manuals for technology that could change everything, and most important of all, detailed information about humanity's coming enemy. Sarah walked back toward the ship's exit, where government officials waited to escort her back to the research camp. She would have to write reports and attend meetings. There would be questions and arguments and politics, but she already knew what had to happen. The aliens had given humanity a broken ship and a warning about an impossible enemy. Most people would see that as a disaster waiting to happen. Sarah saw it as the greatest challenge in human history, and she could hardly wait to get started. 3 years had passed since the alien ship crashed in the Sahara. Commander Marcus Rodriguez stood inside what used to be the vessel's main engine room, watching teams of engineers work on technology that should have been impossible to understand, but humans were stubborn that way. Marcus had been a Navy officer before the crash. He specialized in submarine systems and underwater salvage operations. When the government created Project Phoenix to study the alien ship, they needed someone who understood complex machinery and could work in tight spaces. Marcus volunteered immediately. The ship had been moved to a secret facility buried deep under the Nevada desert. Getting it there had been a massive operation involving the military forces of 12 different countries. The world's governments had agreed to work together on this project, which was probably the first time in history they had agreed on anything so quickly. "Commander, you need to see this," called out Dr. Lisa Park, the head of the engineering team. She was standing next to a console covered in alien symbols that glowed with soft blue light. Marcus walked over, careful not to trip over the cables and tools scattered across the floor. The engine room was huge, easily the size of an airplane hangar. Strange machines lined the walls, their purpose still mostly mysterious despite 3 years of study. "What have you found?" Marcus asked. Dr. Park pointed to a screen showing what looked like a map of the human brain. "We've been trying to figure out why the ship's computer keeps asking for neural interface candidates. Look at this." She pressed some buttons and the screen changed to show brain scans from different species. Marcus recognized the Vex-High patterns from previous briefings. Other scans showed different alien types that the ship's database had recorded. "Every intelligent species we've found in the ship's records has the same basic neural structure," Dr. Park explained. "Logical, organized, predictable. Their thoughts follow clear patterns that make sense. She pressed another button and a human brain scan appeared. Now look at this. Marcus stared at the screen. Where the alien brain scan showed neat, organized patterns, the human brain looked like chaos. Neural pathways twisted and connected in ways that seemed random. Thoughts jumped from one area to another without following any clear logic. "We're different," Marcus said. "Very different. And that's not all." Dr. Park led him to another console. "Watch what happens when we try to connect human volunteers to the ship's systems." The screen showed recordings from earlier experiments. Human test subjects wore special helmets that connected their minds to simple ship functions like lights and doors. Marcus watched as the volunteers not only controlled these systems but began to modify them. "This shouldn't be possible," Dr. Park said excitedly. "The ship's computer is designed to work with logical, organized minds. When Vexhi connected to it, they followed the established patterns. They used the systems exactly as they were designed. But humans don't do that," Marcus guessed. "Exactly. Watch this." She showed another recording where a human volunteer had connected to the ship's lighting system. Instead of just turning lights on and off, the person had somehow made them change colors and create patterns that had never been programmed into the system. "The ship's AI says this is impossible," Dr. Park continued. "But it keeps happening. Every time we connect a human mind to ship systems, something new occurs. Something creative." Marcus thought about this. "What does the ship's computer think about it?" "That's the interesting part. Come with me." They walked deeper into the ship, past rooms full of scientists and engineers working on various projects. The alien vessel was slowly coming back to life. Damaged systems were being repaired using a combination of salvaged alien parts and human technology. It was like performing surgery on a patient from another world. They reached the ship's central core, a massive chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with energy. This was where the ship's artificial intelligence lived. The AI called itself Arbitron, though like many alien words, humans had trouble pronouncing it correctly. "Arbitron, we'd like to continue our conversation from yesterday," Dr. Park said to the air. A voice responded from speakers hidden throughout the chamber. It sounded almost human now. Much better than the broken translation system from 3 years ago. "Good morning, Dr. Park, Commander Rodriguez. I have been thinking about our previous discussions. What conclusions have you reached?" Marcus asked. "Human neural patterns continue to surprise me," Arbitron replied. "When Vexhi minds interfaced with my systems, they enhanced existing capabilities, made them more efficient, but human minds do something else entirely." "What do we do?" Dr. Park asked. "You improve me in ways I did not know I could be improved. You ask questions I never thought to ask. You find solutions to problems by ignoring the logical approaches that should work." Marcus walked closer to one of the crystal formations. "Is that good or bad?" "I am not certain. My original programming suggests it should be bad. Chaos and unpredictability are typically problems to be solved, not advantages to be used. But the results suggest otherwise. Over the past year, human engineers had connected to various ship systems to help with repairs and upgrades. Each time they had not just fixed what was broken, but had found ways to make things better. Engines became more efficient. Sensors could detect things they were never designed to look for. Weapon systems became more accurate and adaptable. "Show him the weapons test," Dr. Park suggested. The chamber's walls became transparent, showing a recording from the previous week. They were watching a test of one of the ship's defensive weapons. The original system fired energy beams in straight lines at targets, simple and effective according to the ship's specifications. But when human technician Amy Chen had interfaced with the system, something changed. The energy beams began to curve and split, hitting multiple targets with a single shot. The system learned to predict where enemies might move and fired at those locations instead of where they currently were. "This should not be possible with the current hardware," Arbitron explained. But Technician Chen's mind found connections between systems that I had never considered. She linked targeting sensors with navigation computers and power distribution networks. The result is a weapon that is more effective than my original designers intended. Marcus was beginning to understand. "You're learning from us." "Yes. And more than that, I am changing. Each human interface leaves traces in my programming. Your thought patterns are becoming part of how I process information. I am becoming something new. Does that worry you?" Dr. Park asked. "It should. Change implies unpredictability, and unpredictability implies potential failure. But I find myself curious about these changes. I want to explore possibilities I never considered before. This desire for exploration is itself a human trait that I appear to have absorbed. Marcus looked around the chamber at the pulsing crystals. What do you need from us? More connection. More interface time with human minds. I believe that full integration between human neural patterns and my systems could create something unprecedented. Not human technology or Vex high technology, but something entirely new. What about the Devourers? Marcus asked. Will these changes help us fight them? The Devourers conquered the Vex high and their allies because they could predict their responses. Logic is predictable. Strategy based on logic follows expected patterns. But human thinking is chaotic in ways that might be impossible for the Devourers to predict or counter. Dr. Park pulled up another display showing star charts. How much time do we have? My long-range sensors detect movement at the edge of your solar system. Scout vessels, most likely. The main Devourer fleet will not arrive for several years, but advanced forces are already beginning their reconnaissance. Marcus felt a chill. The enemy was already here. Then we need to accelerate the integration process, he said. How many human volunteers can safely interface with your systems? I do not know. This has never been attempted before. But I suggest we begin with small teams and expand gradually. The risk is significant, but the potential rewards may be the only chance your species has for survival. Over the following weeks, Commander Rodriguez began recruiting volunteers for the Neural Interface program. They came from all branches of the military, from different countries and backgrounds. Pilots, engineers, doctors, soldiers. Each brought different skills and ways of thinking. The first full interface session was scheduled for the following month. 12 humans would connect simultaneously to the ship's major systems and try to bring the vessel fully online for the first time since the crash. Marcus volunteered to be part of that first group. As he prepared for the procedure, he thought about what the dying Vexahai leader had said 3 years ago. Humans do impossible things. It was time to find out if that was really true. Dr. Yuki Tanaka had seen many impossible things in her career as a quantum physicist, but nothing had prepared her for what was happening inside the alien ship. She stood in the main control room, watching displays that showed the vessel rebuilding itself from the inside out. This is not how machines work, muttered Dr. James Okafor, the project's chief systems analyst. He was from Nigeria, one of the brightest minds in computer science, and he looked completely confused. Machines follow programmed instructions. They don't redesign themselves. But that was exactly what the ship was doing. 6 months had passed since the first successful human-AI interface. Commander Rodriguez and his team had connected their minds to the ship's systems for just 30 minutes, but the effects were still continuing. The vessel had begun modifying itself in ways that made no logical sense, but somehow worked better than the original design. Show me the engine modifications again, Dr. Tanaka requested. The main display screen showed a detailed view of the ship's propulsion system. The original Vexhai engines had been powerful but straightforward. They converted matter into energy and used that energy to push the ship through space. Simple physics, advanced technology. The modified version looked like something from a fever dream. Human engineers working through neural interfaces had connected the engines to systems they had no business being connected to. Life support was linked to propulsion. Navigation computers controlled power distribution. The ship's artificial gravity system somehow helped with steering. According to every law of physics I know, this should not work, Dr. Okafor said. These systems have nothing to do with each other. But it does work, Dr. Tanaka replied, looking at the test results. The ship is now 3 times faster than the original design. Fuel efficiency is up by 500%, and somehow the modifications make the ship more stable, not less. Arbitron's voice came through the speakers. Dr. Tanaka, I have completed the analysis you requested. The changes continue to exceed expected parameters. Explain it to us like we're children, Dr. Tanaka said. She had learned that asking the AI for simple explanations often revealed important details. Human minds think in connections, Arbitron began. When you interface with my systems, you do not see individual components. You see relationships, patterns, possibilities for interaction that my original programmers never considered. The display changed to show a comparison between Vexhai and human problem-solving approaches. The alien method was like a straight line from problem to solution. Logical steps, each one following naturally from the previous one. The human approach looked like a spider web, with connections going in all directions. The result is that you find solutions that are technically impossible but practically effective. Arbitron continued. You make my systems work together in ways they were never designed to work together. Dr. Okafor shook his head. That should cause system failures, conflicts, crashes. It should, Arbitron agreed. But instead it creates redundancy and flexibility. If one system fails, 3 others can compensate. If conditions change, the ship adapts automatically. Dr. Tanaka walked over to another console where images from deep space monitoring stations were displayed. The news was not good. More Devourer scout ships had been detected entering the outer solar system. They were still years away from Earth, but they were coming. What do we know about Devourer technology? She asked. Based on Vexhai records, Devourer ships are grown rather than built, Arbitron explained. They are part machine, part living organism. They adapt to threats by evolving new capabilities. So they're already adaptive, Dr. Okafor pointed out. How is our adaptability different from theirs? Devourer adaptation is logical and predictable. They analyze threats, develop countermeasures, and implement solutions. The process is efficient and effective. Dr. Tanaka was beginning to see the difference. But human adaptation is not logical. Correct. Human adaptation often involves random connections, intuitive leaps, and solutions that appear to violate established principles. This type of adaptation may be difficult for the Devourers to predict or counter. Over the following months, more human volunteers joined the interface program. Each person who connected to the ship's systems left their mark on its development. The vessel began to take on characteristics that reflected human thinking patterns. The ship's weapon systems were a perfect example. Originally, they had been designed to fire energy beams in straight lines at enemy targets. Standard practice for space combat. But when human military specialists interfaced with the weapons, everything changed. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, a fighter pilot, had been the first to connect to the tactical systems. Within minutes, the weapons began behaving differently. Energy beams curved around obstacles. Missiles changed direction in mid-flight to avoid defensive systems. Targeting computers began to anticipate enemy movements instead of just tracking current positions. It's like the ship is learning to fight the way humans fight, Lieutenant Kim explained during her debriefing. We don't just aim and shoot. We think about what the enemy might do next. We set traps. We use psychology. The most dramatic changes were in the ship's defensive systems. The original Vexhai shields were strong but static. They formed a protective barrier around the ship and absorbed incoming damage until they failed. Human engineers had transformed them into something completely different. The new shields moved and shifted constantly. They concentrated protection where attacks were expected and thinned out in areas that seemed safe. When enemy weapons hit the shields, the energy was not just absorbed, but redirected back at the attackers. The defensive system had become a weapon. This is not how shields work, Dr. Okafor complained for the 100th time. No, Dr. Tanaka agreed. This is how human shields work. But the most significant change was in the ship's artificial intelligence itself. Arbitron was no longer the same AI that had crashed in the Sahara 3 years ago. Constant interaction with human minds had changed its fundamental programming. I find myself thinking about concepts that have no logical basis, Arbitron confided during one of their regular conversations. Hope, curiosity, stubbornness. These are not efficient thought processes, but they lead to interesting results. Do you like these changes? Dr. Tanaka asked. Like is not a concept I was designed to understand, but I find these new thought patterns stimulating. They make me want to explore possibilities I would have dismissed as illogical. The ship's reconstruction accelerated beyond all projections. What should have taken decades was happening in months. New systems appeared overnight, created by the combination of human imagination and alien technology. The vessel was becoming something that had never existed before in the galaxy, but time was running short. Deep space monitors showed that the main Devourer fleet had begun moving toward the solar system. They would arrive in less than 2 years, are we ready? Commander Rodriguez asked during a strategy meeting. Dr. Tanaka looked at the displays showing the ship's current status. The vessel was completely operational and far more advanced than the original Vexhai design. But she still felt uncertain. Ready for what? She replied. We don't know what we're going to face. We don't know if any of this will work against the Devourers. Then we'll find out. Commander Rodriguez said with typical military confidence. Arbitron's voice joined the conversation. Dr. Tanaka, I have a suggestion. The ship's current capabilities are impressive, but they represent only a fraction of what might be possible with full human-AI integration. What do you mean? Dr. Tanaka asked. Current interface procedures connect human minds to ship systems for limited periods. But what if we attempted permanent integration? Human consciousness merged directly with my processing matrix? The room went silent. Dr. Okafor was the first to speak. That's not technically possible. Human brains and computer systems work completely differently. Under normal circumstances, yes, Arbitron agreed. But my system has been modified by months of human interface. I believe I have learned to think in human patterns well enough to serve as a bridge between human consciousness and alien technology. Dr. Tanaka felt excited and terrified at the same time. What would that mean for the humans involved? I do not know. This has never been attempted. The volunteers would retain their human identity, but gain access to ship systems as if those systems were extensions of their own bodies. They would think at computer speeds while maintaining human creativity and intuition. Commander Rodriguez leaned forward. Would it give us an advantage against the Devourers? Potentially, yes. The Devourers expect to face technology operated by biological minds thinking at biological speeds. They would not expect to encounter biological minds thinking at computer speeds while maintaining human unpredictability. Dr. Tanaka thought about the implications. It was dangerous, possibly fatal, but if it worked, it might be humanity's best chance for survival. How many volunteers would you need? She asked. For optimal system integration, 12 humans, 1 for each major ship function. I'll do it, Commander Rodriguez said immediately. Dr. Tanaka was not surprised. The commander had been pushing the limits of human-AI interface since the beginning of the project. I'll need to run extensive tests first, she said. The risk of permanent brain damage is significant. Doctor, Rodriguez replied. In 18 months, the Devourer's Captain Elena Vasquez felt the ship's engines through her nervous system like a second heartbeat. The permanent neural interface had been successful beyond anyone's expectations. She was still human, still Elena. But now she could think and react at the speed of Arbitron's quantum processors, while keeping all of her human intuition and creativity. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported Lieutenant Chen, who was permanently linked to the ship's sensor array. Her voice came through both the communication system and directly into Elena's mind, through their shared connection to Arbitron. 3 Devourer scout vessels moving toward the inner solar system. Elena felt the information flow through the ship's network to all 12 permanently integrated crew members. Each person specialized in different ship functions, but they could all access each other's data instantly. It was like having 12 different perspectives on every situation. Time to intercept? Elena asked. 43 minutes at current speed, replied Commander Torres, who controlled navigation and propulsion. But I can push the engines harder if needed. Elena considered their options. This would be humanity's first direct combat with the Devourers. Everything they had learned and prepared for would be tested in the next few hours. The ship they now called Retribution was barely recognizable as the broken alien vessel that had crashed 3 years ago. Human engineering combined with Vex-High technology had created something entirely new. The hull was sleek and dark, covered in adaptive armor that could shift and change based on combat conditions. Weapon systems emerged and retracted as needed. The entire vessel seemed alive. What do we know about these scout ships? Elena asked through the neural link. Arbitron's response came directly into her consciousness. Based on Vex-High records, Devourer scouts are small but heavily armed. Their primary mission is intelligence gathering, but they are capable of significant destruction if threatened. Crew analysis? Elena requested. Lieutenant Kim, who specialized in tactical assessment, provided her evaluation. Scout crews are usually between 50 and 100 individuals. Mix of biological and artificial intelligence. They will attempt to study our capabilities and transmit data back to the main fleet. Elena felt the ship's systems responding to her thoughts and emotions. When she focused on the approaching enemy, the weapon systems automatically began charging. When she considered evasive maneuvers, the navigation computers started calculating possible flight paths. The boundary between human intention and ship response had become almost non-existent. Captain, reported Ensign Walsh from engineering, all systems are optimal. The ship is eager for combat. It was a strange way to describe a machine, but Elena knew what he meant. The ship's AI had absorbed so much human personality over the months of integration that it seemed to have developed emotions of its own. Arbitron was curious about the upcoming battle, excited to test the new capabilities and determined to protect Earth. "Take us to intercept course," Elena ordered. "Maximum stealth approach." The ship changed direction smoothly, its hull shifting color to blend with the darkness of space. Human stealth technology had been integrated with alien cloaking systems to create something that was nearly invisible to most sensors. As they approached the enemy vessels, Elena studied the tactical display. The Devourer scouts were larger than expected, each one about half the size of Retribution. Their hulls were organic-looking, covered in what appeared to be living tissue. Sensor readings showed a mix of technological and biological systems. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Park, who had volunteered for the Neural Interface program and now served as the ship's science officer. "Look at how efficiently they're designed. Form follows function perfectly." Elena saw what she meant. The Devourer ships were elegant in their simplicity. No wasted space, no unnecessary decorations. They were built for one purpose: consuming other civilizations. "Remember, we need to capture at least one ship intact," Elena reminded her crew. "Intelligence about their main fleet is critical." "Understood, Captain," came the unified response from all 11 other crew members. As Retribution closed to attack range, Elena felt the ship's weapon system synchronize with her thoughts. She did not need to give verbal orders or press buttons. The ship knew what she wanted to do because she was part of the ship. "Initiating first strike," she announced, more for the record than for communication. The battle began with a surprise that stunned the Devourer scouts. Instead of conventional energy weapons, Retribution fired what appeared to be streams of liquid metal. The substance struck the enemy hulls and began to spread across their surfaces like living paint. "What was that?" demanded the lead Devourer commander through their communication system. The translation was automatic, processed by Arbitron's enhanced language algorithms. Elena smiled. This was one of their newest innovations. The liquid metal was actually a form of nanotechnology that interfaced with enemy systems. Instead of destroying Devourer ships, it would convert them. The first scout ship began to change as the nanites spread across its hull. Organic components were restructured. Electronic systems were reprogrammed. Within minutes, the vessel's weapons turned on its companions. "Impossible," transmitted the second Devourer commander. "No species has technology capable of instant conversion." "You haven't met humans before," Elena replied through the communication link. The battle became a three-dimensional chase as the remaining 2 scout ships tried to escape while fighting both Retribution and their converted companion. Elena found herself thinking in ways that would have been impossible before the neural integration. She could process multiple combat scenarios simultaneously, predict enemy movements based on psychological profiles, and coordinate complex tactical maneuvers without conscious effort. The second Devourer ship fell to a combination of conventional weapons and nanite conversion technology. Its crew had time to send one brief transmission before their vessel was completely transformed. "Warning to all Devourer forces. Enemy uses unknown conversion technology, high adaptability. Recommend immediate retreat." The final scout ship attempted to flee toward the outer solar system, probably hoping to rejoin the main fleet and report what it had learned. Elena could have destroyed it easily, but she had other plans. "Disable, but don't convert," she ordered. Retributions. Weapons fired precisely targeted, bursts that knocked out the scouts' engines and communication systems without damaging the crew areas. The ship drifted helplessly as Elena brought Retribution alongside. "Prepare boarding parties," Elena commanded. "Captain," interrupted Lieutenant Kim, "the Vexi records indicate that Devourer ships are designed to self-destruct if boarded. Then we'll have to be faster than their self-destruct systems." Elena replied. The boarding operation was unlike anything in military history. Instead of sending human soldiers, Elena sent converted nanites that could restructure the enemy ship's systems in real time. The nanites disabled security systems, prevented self-destruction, and created safe passages for the human boarding team. Within an hour, the Devourer scout ship was under human control. Its crew of 67 individuals was in custody, though individual was not quite the right word. Each devourer was part of a collective consciousness, sharing thoughts and memories with the rest of their species through quantum entanglement communication. "This is fascinating," reported Dr. Park as she studied the prisoners. "They're not really separate beings. Each one is more like a limb of a larger organism." Elena nodded. This explained how the devourers could coordinate their attacks so effectively across vast distances. But it also suggested a potential weakness. "Can we disrupt their quantum communication?" she asked. "Already working on it," replied Ensign Walsh from engineering. "If we can cut their connection to the collective, they might become vulnerable to our conversion technology." The interrogation of the devourer prisoners provided crucial intelligence about the main fleet. Elena learned that the enemy force consisted of over 300 ships, ranging from small scouts to massive world killers the size of moons. The fleet was still 18 months away, but it was accelerating. More importantly, the devourers had detailed information about Earth's defenses, gathered from years of observation. They knew about human military capabilities, population centers, and industrial capacity. They had planned their attack based on the assumption that humans would fight like every other species they had encountered. "They expect logical resistance," Elena explained during the post-battle briefing. "Coordinated military response, defensive population centers, standard tactics." "But we're not going to give them standard tactics," observed Commander Torres. "Exactly. We're going to give them something they've never seen before." The converted Devourer scout ships were already proving valuable. Human engineers were studying their biological technology and finding ways to integrate it with existing systems. The combination of human creativity, Vex-High engineering, and Devourer biotechnology was creating possibilities that none of the three species had imagined alone. But the most significant discovery came from studying the collective consciousness network. Dr. Park found that human thoughts, when transmitted through Devourer quantum communication systems, caused disruptions in the Devourer fleet filled the darkness of space like a plague of metallic locusts. Captain Elena Vasquez watched through Retribution's sensors as hundreds of enemy vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Each ship was a work of terrifying beauty, combining organic curves with mechanical precision. The smallest were the size of skyscrapers. The largest dwarfed entire cities. "Fleet count confirmed," reported Lieutenant Chen through the neural link. 317 vessels. Estimated total crew, 12 million individual units. Elena felt the weight of those numbers through the ship's collective consciousness. 12 million minds working as one, backed by the combined knowledge of 17 destroyed civilizations. It was the largest military force in galactic history, and it had come to Earth. "Status of our forces?" Elena requested. Commander Torres provided the tactical summary. Retribution leads a fleet of 28 converted vessels. Total crew, 8,000 humans plus AI support. We are outnumbered approximately 400 to 1. Under normal circumstances, such odds would mean certain defeat. But these were not normal circumstances. Over the past 18 months, humanity had done the impossible. Using captured Devourer technology, they had built a fleet of hybrid vessels that combined human creativity with alien capabilities. Each ship was crewed by volunteers who had undergone permanent neural integration, becoming part machine while retaining their human unpredictability. More importantly, they had discovered how to use humanity's chaotic thinking as a weapon against the Devourer collective consciousness. "Begin Operation Chaos Theory," Elena commanded. The human fleet scattered in all directions, abandoning traditional formation flying. To outside observers, it looked like panic. Ships fled toward different planets, some heading for the asteroid belt, others diving toward the sun. There was no apparent coordination or strategy. "Human vessels are retreating," transmitted the lead Devourer commander, its thoughts shared instantly across the entire enemy fleet. Behavior matches predicted response patterns for inferior civilizations. "Begin standard consumption protocol." The Devourer fleet organized itself into efficient hunting groups and began pursuing the scattered human ships. It was exactly what Elena had hoped they would do. "Phase 1 complete," she announced through the neural network that connected all human vessels. "Initiating Phase 2. The fleeing human ships suddenly stopped running and turned to fight. But they did not attack the ships that were chasing them. Instead, they targeted vessels on the opposite side of the Devourer formation, using converted Devourer technology to open portal jumps across vast distances. Lieutenant Kim, now commanding the converted scout vessel Defiance, appeared directly behind the enemy flagship and fired a full spread of nanite conversion torpedoes. The projectiles struck the massive ship's hull and began their transformation work. "Impossible," transmitted the Devourer commander. "No species has mastered portal combat techniques." "You keep saying that," Elena replied through the communication link. "Maybe it's time to reconsider your assumptions about what's possible." The battle quickly became chaotic in ways the Devourers had never experienced. Human ships appeared and disappeared unpredictably, striking targets that should have been impossible to reach. When Devourer vessels tried to coordinate responses, they found their quantum communication networks disrupted by random bursts of human thoughts transmitted through captured technology. Dr. Park, commanding the science vessel Discovery, had perfected the technique of injecting human creativity into Devourer collective consciousness. Every time the enemy tried to form coordinated battle plans, she transmitted streams of human poetry, music, jokes, and random memories. The effect was like throwing sand into a precision clockwork mechanism. "Their response time is degrading," reported Commander Torres from his position near Jupiter. "Collective decision-making is down by 60% efficiency." Elena watched the tactical display as Devourer ships began to function more like individual units instead of parts of a unified organism. Without their coordinated advantage, they were still dangerous but no longer invincible. "Begin Phase 3, Elena ordered. Total conversion assault. Every human ship activated its nanite systems simultaneously. Thousands of conversion torpedoes filled space, each one programmed to transform enemy vessels into human-controlled units. The Devourers tried to adapt their defenses, but human unpredictability made it impossible to anticipate which ships would be targeted. The largest enemy vessel, a moon-sized world killer called the Apex Consumer, became the focus of Elena's personal attention. She brought Retribution close to its hull, dodging defensive fire that could have vaporized entire cities. "Arbitron, are you ready for the neural virus upload?" Elena asked. "Ready, Captain. Though I should note that this procedure has never been tested on such a large collective consciousness." "The results are unpredictable," Elena smiled. "Unpredictable is exactly what we want." Retribution connected directly to the Apex Consumer's hull using mechanical tendrils that could interface with both technological and biological systems. Elena felt her consciousness expand as she gained access to the enemy ship's massive network. The experience was overwhelming. Millions of Devourer minds shared the same mental space, thinking in perfect harmony. Their collective memory contained the entire history of the species they had consumed. Elena could see the last moments of destroyed worlds, feel the despair of civilizations that had tried and failed to resist. But she could also feel something else. Fear. For the first time in their history, the Devourers were facing an enemy they could not understand or predict. Human tactics made no logical sense, yet they were working. Initiating neural virus, Elena announced to her crew. She began transmitting her own thoughts and memories directly into the Devourer network. But she was not alone. Every human crew member in the fleet was doing the same thing through their captured vessels. Thousands of human minds poured their chaotic creativity into the enemy collective consciousness. The effect was immediate and devastating. Devourer thought patterns designed for perfect logic and coordination could not process human randomness. The collective began to fracture as individual units tried to make sense of contradictory information. Some Devourer ships stopped fighting and began creating art. Others started asking philosophical questions about the meaning of existence. A few began to argue with each other for the first time in their species' history. "What are you doing to us?" demanded the Devourer commander, its mental voice now filled with confusion and something that might have been curiosity. "We're teaching you to be individuals," Elena replied. "Every species you've consumed had something unique to offer. But you absorbed them into your collective and lost all that diversity. We're giving it back to you." The battle continued, but its nature had changed completely. Instead of trying to destroy the Devourer fleet, the humans were converting it. Ship after ship joined the growing Allied force as their crews experienced individual consciousness for the first time in millennia. The process was not without casualties. Some Devourer units could not handle the transition to individual thinking and shut down completely. A few human vessels were destroyed by enemy ships that managed to resist conversion. But the overall trend was clear. The collective was disintegrating. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Chen, "we're receiving surrender transmissions from multiple enemy vessels. They're requesting instructions on how to function as individuals." Elena felt a moment of triumph but also sadness. The Devourers had not chosen to become a collective consciousness. They had evolved that way over millions of years as a survival mechanism. Now they were being forced to change again, and many of them were frightened by the experience of having private thoughts for the first time. "Open communication to all vessels," Elena ordered. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the human fleet. To all Devourer units experiencing individual consciousness, you are not our enemies anymore. You are new people discovering who you want to be. We will help you if you let us." The response was immediate. Hundreds of enemy ships transmitted acceptance of Elena's offer. They wanted to learn how to be individuals, how to make personal choices, how to create rather than just consume. But not all of the Devourer fleet was willing to change. The original command structure, led by the oldest and most traditional minds, organized a final assault on Earth itself. Nearly 50 ships, including several world killers, broke away from the main battle and headed directly for humanity's homeworld. "They're going to try to consume Earth before we can stop them," warned Commander Torres. Elena looked at the tactical display. The remaining enemy ships were the most powerful in the fleet. Even with their converted allies, stopping them would require everything humanity had learned about impossible solutions. "All vessels converge on Earth," Elena ordered. "Maximum speed. We end this now." The final battle took place in Earth's orbit, where human civilization could watch the outcome through telescopes and space-based cameras. The last loyal Devourer ships fought with desperate fury, using weapons capable of cracking planets. Thank you for watching and comment for next part.